for joining us this. Thank you everyone for joining us this morning. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Nicole Lipsy, and I'm a manager here at RENA. Brian cannot be here today, so I have the privilege of co-hosting this fourth community Zoom meeting for the developmental sector in Israel. I'm joined today by Omri Chopin and Sharon Durst, and they are our two Shinshinim here with us from Israel. For those of you who don't know or not familiar with the term of a Shinshinim, they are two people who have just finished, they are people who have just finished high school, and before going to the army, they do a year of service. And this year we have the privilege of having them come here to RENA. This is the first year that RENA has had the Shinshinim, and it has been an honor and a privilege working with them so far. RENA emphasizes the significance of maintaining these meetings that we have to reassure our Israeli partners of our ongoing support and willingness to listen during this challenging period, especially after the aftermath of the terrorist attack on October the 7th. During this time, Sharon and Omri will be co-hosting with me. So at this time, I'm going to be passing it on to Sharon, who will be introducing our first guest.
Good morning. So our first guest today is someone very special to me. She is also the desk commander for people with disabilities and the elderly in the Home Front Command in the IDF. But she is also, and some of you might have noticed, we share a last name. She's also my mom. So Tammy Durst, or Mom, take the stage.
Thank you. Wow, it's so exciting to be introduced by my own daughter, who I miss so much, being far away from me right now. But I'm so happy that she found such a good home at RENA. And Nicole told me it was meant to be. And so she has received such a warm welcome, RENA and the family. So we're very happy about that. As you all know, Israel is at war for already 55 days. So I'll tell you a little about what we're doing to help people with disabilities in my unit and what we do to actually help them save their lives. I was drafted on the first day together with my team. We all belong to the Home Front Command, which is the unit responsible for civilian population. We give guidelines to the public, how we need to behave at different times of emergency and even not emergency. So they were very active during COVID, and we're very active now during this war. We write the guidelines and we make sure that the guidelines reach the civilians in the way that's accessible to them and how they need to behave. So if it's in a certain language or if it's in a different culture, and we need to match these guidelines in order to make sure that they're able to act on them. So in our case, if this is the desk of people with disabilities and elderly, the language might be sign language, or the instructions might be different instructions, all depending on exactly what the disability is and what the difficulties are. We have 1 million people, over 1 million people with disabilities in Israel, and they're all impacted by the war, and so are their families. And we want to make sure that we reach them with the right information that they can understand and they can act upon it. So as I mentioned, if they're deaf, maybe we have to translate to sign language. If they're blind, we have to remind them to make sure that the way that they go is secure in order to reach the protected space. If they have mobility issues, then they might not be able to get to a protective space, designated space on time, and then they would need to be in a special room, which is the safest room at home. And we teach them how to choose that room. So I'll show you in a little bit where those instructions are and how we do it. We actually guide people with disabilities on these instructions. We have Zoom meetings with them. We have Zoom meetings with their caretakers. We actually train caretakers if that needs to, if they need more instruction, and we go and meet them and we answer their questions to make sure that they know how to keep their employers safe. We have many people with disabilities that need, if they require simple language, like people with intellectual disabilities. Sometimes even older people would like to have simple language. So a lot of times when we have accessible instructions, it helps the whole population. It doesn't help only the people with disabilities. But we write the guidelines that are life-saving for different types of disabilities and different types of situations, because the situations change here all the time. And we make sure that they can understand them and that they reach them. So we partner with different organizations that deal with disabilities to make sure that they know about what they're supposed to do, and that the information reaches the people that are members of the organization. We want to know that people can still lead a life. So if they go out, the schools are back, workplaces are back, most of the country is actually functioning as usual. It's not really as usual, because some people are displaced and some people can't actually go to their regular schools, but we still want them to have as much as a normal life as possible. So we still want them to know that they have to go to the shelter if they're outside and the siren goes off, and they need to know what to do if they're in a car or in a bus, and how they protect themselves. So if it's a person with a mobility issue and we tell people to get off the bus, then maybe they can't get off the bus, and then we guide them what to do to go below the window and put their hands on their head. And that's a type of instruction. That's actually what's been keeping us busy these days. There are families that have people and children that do not want to go to the protective room, that are scared and don't want to be with many people, and the whole thing makes them nervous, and then they're dealing with a lot of stress right now. We have challenges that we don't always have in a normal life. So even if we explain them the reason and what they have to do, sometimes we have to help them find alternative ways to take care of their families or the people that they're treating, in order to make sure that they can lead a life, and they can go to school, or they can go to wherever they need to go. If we have people, with mental disabilities, sometimes the situation is hard for all of us. People are scared, people are nervous, but what if you have PTSD? Then you're triggered all the time. So people, are in a constant stress. The situation can be very extreme for those people, and as well as other mental disabilities. And if we, just to mention the people that were displaced from home, people are going to school in other areas or going, living in a community where they're not normally living. And even if they do have accessible environment, like an accessible hotel room, they're still might be going to school, special education with a teacher they don't know, or with children they don't know. These are all situations that can be difficult for people with disabilities and for families, in general. I'd like to tell you a story about my family. I have a son, Sharon's brother. His name is Elad, and he's a special soldier. And he has autism, and he goes to the army. He's very proud of his service, and so are we. Every Sunday morning, he rides the bus to the army base. He works there in the kitchen, and the soldiers there love him. He's a very hard worker. He's motivated. And he insisted on going to the army, even though he wasn't drafted. And he comes back on Thursday, and during the week he stays there at a home with supervision and other people like him, with soldiers with autism and other disabilities, actually. So once the war broke out, first of all, it's not safe for him to go to the base, and I, the civilian, was putting on my uniform and going to the base, and Elad, the soldier, was not. For the first 2 weeks, he didn't go, and he was very upset. He didn't understand why his mother was going to the army suddenly, and he can't. And, we wanted to protect him in the army and the organization. There's always an organization that accompanies them. So and checks on them during the day to see how those special soldiers are doing, and they each have their own job. And everyone was afraid to bring them back, and who knows what's going to happen. So Elad insisted to go back, and he did. 3 weeks ago, he went to the army, and he's used to ride the bus. And now we were afraid to send him on the bus because we don't know if the siren goes off in the area that his base is not a quiet area. Then what is he going to do? We practice with him what he does. We know he knows what he's supposed to do every situation, and still, a little guy with autism, we don't know how he's going to act. So I was driving him every Sunday morning to the base and then going to my base. And then Thursday I would pick him up and bring him to my base. And he met all my other teammates, and he was angry, and he said, no, I want to take the bus. I want to be independent. And he insisted. So today was the first time. Now we're in a ceasefire. So it's the first time that he actually did take the bus. And we were worried. I don't know if you know, but this morning in Jerusalem, there was a terrorist attack at a bus station, and 3 people were killed. And for us, it's a constant stressful situation where we need to worry and know where he is all the time and know that he's safe. And so just thinking of all the other families of these special people, special soldiers or not soldiers, trying to go about their lives in these times, but being afraid to let them be independent, because we want them to be independent. We want them to live in the community. We want them to get everything they need and all the services they need. And now we suddenly became overprotective, or I don't know if overprotective, but very protective. And it's very hard to find the balance where you let go and where you really need to make sure that you're doing what you can to keep people safe. So as schools returned and kids returned, and all the parents are feeling what I'm feeling, but I think it's a little bit more if it's children that are in special education, or children that are, or adults that are with disabilities and can't always function 100% as we would expect them to in time of emergency. It's always the doubt of what happens when the siren goes off and what are they going to do. So this is basically the main things that are concerning for me right now. I'd be happy to take questions if you have any. I would like to show you our Home from Command portal, which is on the web, and I'll just share it so you can see the types of things that we've been doing. What do I do to make you see my screen?
There should be a share screen at the bottom. If not, you could just...
Yeah, it disappeared. Oh yeah, it's here in the more. Okay. Here it is. So I'm going straight to, can you see it now?
Yes.
I'm going straight to Adi. Adi is actually on my team, and she is in a wheelchair, and here she's telling what she needs to do. I'm going to turn off the sound because it's in Hebrew, but here she's saying what you need to do when there's a siren, and if you can't reach the protective room. And we think it's very important that the presenter is a person with disabilities in the same situation. People feel that she's talking to them, she's telling them how to choose the inner room and where she would be across from, not across from the window, not under the line of the window, where they can't be. This is the type of things that we're working on. So this is just an example. The website is in English, but not all of the information was already translated. So I'll just tell you what else there's able to find here. We can see that there's instructions where to be in the room for someone who's bedridden. Then we would want the caregivers to put the bed in a certain place in the room to make sure it's the inner wall and it's not in a place where anything would break or anything would endanger the person that's in the room. Of course, we have lists of equipment. We have different types of disabilities. So each disability will have a different list of equipment. So we have different, if you need hearing aids, then you would need batteries. If you're in a wheelchair, then you might need a generator. If you have breathing equipment. If you have a dog that guides you because you can't see, then you need to think about the dog too. And you need to have all those equipment prepare ahead of time to be ready to take with you if you need to go to a safe space. These are more information that we're preparing, that we're distributing in different ways to the population of people with disabilities and the elderly. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Tammy. I do have a question. You did mention that you work with organizations within Israel, as well as working directly with families. Is there a way for the rest of the population to gain access to the knowledge and the education that you guys do? And the reason I was asking, you talked about, you know, if they're out in public or somebody's in a wheelchair or somebody is not able to see and something happens, is there a way that the public is also trained or can be trained to assist individuals that may need assistance during these times?
Yes, so we actually did prepare information that talks about how to help people in need, and reminds people, you know, to look around and see if someone needs help. If it is to close the big steel window in the protective room, which is heavy and people needed to prepare the rooms in the beginning of the war, or if it means that they need to access equipment that they don't have. And we actually had posts all over, and we also have people that explain the policy that are on TV and talk from the home front command, that talk about what the instructions are every time that they speak on TV. Then we would ask them to remind the public to look around and to help people in need. So that's something that we do. It's also, of course, as I mentioned, everything's also on the website. We have social media. The Home Front Command has social media. The organizations we work with have social media. We have very active WhatsApp groups. We have a distribution list of WhatsApp groups actually by disability. So we would send all the information for that's in sign language or with subtitles on one WhatsApp group without you know, having everyone else need to check what it is, and they can focus on the instructions that are specific for them. And then people with mobility issues will have a different WhatsApp group, and they'll get the information that's relevant for mobility, for equipment, for, as I mentioned, what to do in certain situations if you can't comply exactly with the instructions that the public does. These are instructions that are for always helpful for elderly or helpful for big families. Sometimes a mother who's driving with many children won't be able to take them out of the car even if there's a siren. So they'll have the same directions as have people with mobile disabilities. They'll just stay in the car and they'll put their heads down under the window. As well as elderly people who it's going to be hard for them to get out of the car, and we always say, step away from the car and lie down and put your hands on your head. It's not something that elderly people can always do on time. So these guidelines help the public as well.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you very much for taking the time. I don't see any questions in the chat here. You explained everything very well, and thank you to the rest of your team, and acknowledging the people with developmental disabilities there and working with them in the community to making sure that they're being taken care of and safe at all times. Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to acknowledge a distinguished and longtime friend, Member of Parliament for Vaughan Woodbridge, Francesco Sobara. Francesco is very close with Rena and has supported Rena by attending numerous events and advocating for the individuals here at Rena. At this time, I'll turn it over to MP Sobara to bring some greetings.
Good morning, everyone. Just very quickly, thank you for the kind invitation from Rena for having me here and listening to some of the stories and how you folks are dealing with individuals with developmental abilities, and I would call people with special abilities, to be frankly. First off, I just wanted to give a shout out to Rena. Obviously, everything Rena does in York Region, in the area that I'm from, here in Greater Toronto, and everything they've been advocating for and everything they've been able to do for individuals with special abilities they need. A big shout out, obviously on a personal level. I see some of the I Stand with Israel in the background, and if I can just change my background magically, because I'm not too sure how to do that, I would have the same emblem in the background as well. And obviously our prayers and our blessings to the people of Israel and the state of Israel at this most inopportune time in its history. Very unfortunate, and I can say a lot more, but I'll stop there. But we obviously, on a personal level, my utmost support to the community here in Canada and in Israel. And then the final comment to the folks providing the similar services in Israel. Obviously, you operate under different circumstances, especially at this current time. So just all the strength and the fortitude to you as you continue your great work. I was able to visit Israel a number of years ago in 2017. I would love to return to Israel and see this beautiful country and its beautiful people again in the not too distant future when things permit themselves. I just want to wish everyone a great day and just say thank you for everything you do from my part. Thanks.
Thank you for your words of support. I'm now going to be passing it on to Sharon and Omri, the two Shinshinim here with Rena, who are going to be talking about their experiences of coming here to Canada during this trying time, as well as what they're doing here in order to show their support to for Israel. So Sharon and Omri.
Thank you so much, firstly, to Tammy for educating us and talking about all the topics and the important thing they do. I think we all can say and understand the importance of this part of the IDF, of advocating these important topics and information to all the general public. And also thank you to Mrs. Sobara, MP Sobara, to attending the event. Me and Sharon are going to talk a bit about our experience today of how everything been to us in the last 55 days. It's been hard, not gonna lie. It's really hard to be so far away from home, especially during this time when there is a war in Israel, when most of my friends, me and Sharon's friends, are in the IDF right now. We both in the age we were supposed to be drafted. We were supposed to be serving in the military right now, but me and Sharon and other people around the world decided to delay our service year and to do something called Shnat Shirut, a year of service, and to volunteer here in Canada, especially in Rena. And our main goal is to basically strengthen the connection between Israel and the Jews of Toronto and the community of Toronto in general. It's been really hard since the beginning of October 7th. I really remember the first minute that I saw the message on the phone of there is been rockets sending from Gaza toward all of Israel mostly, and mostly my area. I live kind of south of Israel, live in the area called the Shfela in Gush Dan, which is the central southeast area of Israel. There has been a lot of rockets sent toward this area. And I remember for the first time I saw it, I thought, it's sad to say, but I thought, oh, it's kind of normal. You know, my area is kind of used to get rockets on not on a daily basis, but on yearly basis, that's for sure. So on the first thing that I saw, I thought to myself, okay, that's normal. And I think it's gonna be like past soon, and hopefully everyone okay. I just send a message to my family like, are you guys okay? I heard there was rockets, and that's where it kind of ends. A few hours later, as I saw more and more news report on my phone, I saw there was all those horrible things happen. First, I saw everything that happened in Nova Festival, the music festival that occurred in the in south of Israel, really close to the Gaza border. So it was hard to see everything online and knowing that you're really far away. And after a few days, I even had the thought coming up my mind to even go back to Israel, try to draft. But you know, I felt so supported here in Rena, in Toronto especially, but here in Rena as well. I had many conversations with Nicole. I had many conversations with like Rena employees and staff, and even the individuals. And I really felt like how the work here in Rena and the volunteering here kind of give me a lot of like kind of like a therapy. It was so therapeutic to wake up every morning and to have this strong feeling of like have a purpose, to have a purpose to what we're doing, to have a purpose to come and to educate and advocate about Israel and to run programs related to Israel. To as Sharon gonna show us in like have a presentation in a bit. There's a lot of photos of things we did in the first few days of the war to show how the individuals in Rena can actually support Israel, and we talked to them in their level about how everything has happened. And yeah, I really felt that waking up every morning and going to Rena is been therapeutic, and have felt like this purpose to go actually, instead of like sitting in and just seeing all the news reports all day. And I felt that big hug from Rena all over the place. Like it was so nice to see how Rena support Israel, support us, me and Sharon, support Shinshinim, and trying to do everything they can to show the support. And yeah, I think I saw also the how big of impact the war had on everyone, mostly the individual, because me and Sharon work with them on a daily basis. And I saw how much they were kind of how bad they feel about the war, like how they want the war to be over. Every time me and Sharon come to the room and come to run our program about Israel or Jewish culture, they all just said, when is the war gonna be end? Like when is there still war in Israel? And every time we just like say like we pray for the end of the war, and they say we pray as well, and they always say the sweetest thing to us. And that's why it's been so therapeutic. And I'm gonna pass it to Sharon and to show us the beautiful presentation she made and talk a bit more.
Thank you, Omri. So I'm not gonna explain again, obviously, the difficulty of this time. I'm sure you're all well aware. But I will share with you a little bit about the work that Omri and I chose to do over the past month. So just let me know if you can see the screen.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. So obviously over the last month, we didn't do our work as we normally would have. Besides the fact that as a group, we have 20 other Shinjinim here in Toronto in different institutions all throughout the city. We had in the city a huge rally, I think 15,000 people. Rally for Israel. We had a bunch of different things because the Toronto community is very, very warm, very welcoming, and very supportive. But specifically in RENA, the programs that we ran, we did letters to soldiers and letters to families near the Gaza Strip. So we have some of them over here, and if you want to take a closer look, we have some of them with the writing themselves. Also, so a lot of the individuals have been very supportive. So the individuals have been very, very supportive, and a lot of them were very educated. We came, Army and I explained the situation to them, obviously depending, like the level of detail we went into, depending on the different individuals. And a lot of them were already very well informed the second we walked into the program. We also do, we have a Shabbat program that we do every week for Friday. So here you can see a little bit of that. So besides that, obviously we have that going every week. We have it tomorrow. So if anyone from RENA wants to join, you're more than welcome to come at 1 o'clock at the Battle Center. We also continue with our Israeli culture programming, whether it's Israeli cooking, that we have a shakshuka we made with the individuals here in the middle, or cookies with the Israeli flag on them that Omri is making here on the left. We do run different programs and activities. On the right, you can see a program we did about Israeli flowers, or we talk about different places in Israel, different music. One of the individuals came up to me last week and she said, my favorite music is the Israeli music that you play us. So they've all been very welcoming, very open to hearing about Israel and our culture, especially in this time. So we would like to thank both the individuals and the staff, who has been nothing but amazing towards us. So thank you very much.
So thank you, Omri and Sharon, for sharing. And that was a beautiful presentation. And anyone on this Zoom meeting is welcome to come to our little Kabbalah Shabbat 1 o'clock at the Battle Center every Friday. It would be nice to see everybody's face in person. I would like to thank everybody for joining us this morning. As I mentioned before, Israel continues to show our support for Israel and the developmental sector and the agencies that we work closely in partnership with. So for everybody on this call, have a good day. Everybody here in Canada, stay warm. Everybody in Israel, continue to stay safe, and thank you for all the work that you guys have been doing. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, just leaving the Zoom.